Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Now, as you'll see, it's getting a little bit crowded on screen here, but for those of you that haven't seen our Dylan White, Jermaine Franklin preview, Jack has joined us on a permanent basis, so buzzing to have you on, Jack. You guys all good?
All good,
Spot
mate.
on, mate. Spot on. Come down to Christmas.
We're nearly there. Don't get me started, mate. The Christmas tree's coming up the weekend.
Mine's already up, but never mind.
Oh, there we go. Right, we'll get straight into this Sky Sports Boxer, the breakthrough card. We'll go straight in at the main event, guys. Adam Azim, probably the hottest prospect in, I want to say world boxing, I'll be honest, but certainly British boxing at the moment. He's taking on a friend of the channel in Rylan Charlton. Yes, I'll come to you first. Break this one down for us. And we'll get a bit interesting with predictions because obviously there's four of us. So hopefully we're going to have some different ones.
Yeah, well, like you said, Adam Azim, he's a very talented boxer. He's very young. He's 20 years old. You know, he's undefeated. He's built up a decent record up until now, and he's under the guidance of Shane McGuigan. You know, I feel as though this kid, you know, providing all goes well, you know, with the guidance and whatever in his career, he is the kind of the next guy to take the torch and really benefit off that Sky Sports machine and become, you know, a household name within the UK. You know, it's a good fight for him. You know, it's a step up, obviously, from the last time out. You know, he was out in Liverpool. I was actually there, and you know, he got that first round stoppage. So obviously, this kid is very talented because everyone that he goes in there with, he's defeating them with ease at the moment. And for someone at his age, you know, he's going through the paces at a very fast rate, and you know, we do have a star on our hands. He comes into this, obviously. I think he's had 6 fights. 5 of them have stopped within a distance. And, you know, so he's got power, he's slick, you know, he pleases the crowd, and it makes for a good fight. And obviously, Rylan Charlton, he's going to come into this with the bit between his teeth because this is the next up-and-coming kid. If he can cause an upset here, then, you know, he sort of ruins the script. So no doubt he's going to come in motivated and he's going to really try and cause an upset.
No, definitely. I mean, Ray, I'll come to you on this. Obviously, Rylan, he's been on the channel. We know what he brings. We've seen him in fights. Obviously, you know, he's not called the pint-sized powerhouse for nothing. And for me, the exciting thing about this fight is the fact that of all the opponents that Azim's been in with, yeah, obviously, Rylan's probably got the best chances of actually landing and testing his chin, which we've not seen before. What do you rate his chances are sort of in this fight and of, you know, asking some questions of Adam Azim?
I think he's got the potential to ask questions to Adam Azim. Whether or not he will or not is a different matter. If Adam Azim starches Rylan Charlton, then we can really justify the hype, or at least give lend to some weight to justify the hype. It's difficult to see and see how good he is. I mean, he's had 6 fights. You know, 3 of those have been very early on. You're looking at first round stoppages. There've not been anybody there. I mean, I know he's beaten Jordan Ellison, who's had a good win of note against Dylan Kima, who I thought only narrowly beat Rylan Charlton. I thought Rylan won that fight, to be honest with you. So that's probably his best win, Adam Azim's. But aside from that, I thought the opponents were tailor-made for him. And so it should be at this early stage in his career. Rylan, we all know about his power. We all know how effective he was at a higher weight. But he's also shown that he can be quite easily outboxed as well. When he fought Luke Willis, I thought Luke Willis was very, very comfortable in that fight. I thought, you know, Rylan was, you know, he didn't offer much. So when you look at Adam Azim, he's got all those attributes, really. You haven't, and that's the thing, because he's only had 6 fights, you haven't seen that actually he can box really well. He's got the hand speed, he's got the sleight of foot to be in and out of range. So if he uses those to his advantage and doesn't get caught in the wall, I don't think Rylan will be able to do much with him. It's if he sort of like stands and trades, and then Rylan's got every chance of causing an upset.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some good points there, Ray. Jack, obviously, on our Dylan White preview, you raised a couple of things that I think are relevant now. Obviously, one, you said you're not a big fan of sort of watching prospects coming through in their first 10 or 15 fights. Is Azim different? Obviously, boxing media and fans are talking about him as being different. So does he do it for you, or are you still reserving judgment?
Yeah, no, he's a prospect that does take quite good fights. Like he's been in there with like Southern area champions and quite like half decent names, like area to English champion levels. That he absolutely blasted out Conor Marsden, who was the Southern area champion and had a couple good wins against like Boy Jones Jr. and so on. So that was a good name in my opinion to be in with, and he just blasted him out and around. And now the Ryland Charlton fight is good. I'm a massive Rylan Charlton fan, and do you know what? I have a very just like sneaky feeling that Ryland could potentially do it. I'm gonna make a point, and then I'm gonna say something which I heard, which is gonna be very interesting. But just when you get like a man against, I don't want to say a kid, but a young man, there's a lot of things that, like man strength, mentality, and obviously Ryland's done like the 10 rounds and so on. And I think this is an 8-round fight, I think. So things like that, it plays like a big part, especially when you get a man against a boy, like the strength wise, it plays a big part. So if Ryland can get the game plan right and put it on him from the start and make it very uncomfortable for him, he could cause an upset. But I haven't said that I do think Adam Azim is good enough to win the fight. But now here is something very interesting that I heard.
I'm just getting myself ready for it.
From a good source, I've heard that Rylan Charlton's taken a dive in this fight, and it could happen between rounds 1 and 4 because the venue's got to close at a certain time, so they can't let the fight run. If it goes on too late, they can't let the show go on too long, and I've heard he's going to be taking a dive between them rounds.
Wow. Well, possible spoiler alert then.
Just chuck the script out there, Jack. Yeah,
I don't know what's. Yeah, right. Fucking hell. No, I mean,
I was expecting a sparring story or something like that.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, well, obviously, Ryland's been up and down in weights, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, is it going to be struggling at the weight? Although I wouldn't have thought so, if it obviously being at 140. But hey, I mean, yeah, I suppose that's a potential exclusive. So anyone watching this now is going to be eagle-eyed on those rounds, aren't they? Yeah. I'd like to say it wouldn't happen because, in fairness, Ryland's shown he's tough. When we saw him training up at welterweight. So I would like to hope that that's just rubbish because how tough he was at 147, taking shots off the likes of Florian Marco and whatnot. For me, if something like that was to happen, it would end up being quite obvious. But we will see. There has been stories this week that Azim's obviously sparring middleweights because of his power. So who knows? So I'm going to push you all very quickly for a prediction. I'll come to you first, Ray. I want a name and a points or a knockout. What are you thinking?
Azim, points.
Very good. Yes.
Azim, knockout round 4.
Yeah.
I'll go Adam Azim on points as well.
Well, there we go. I'm actually going Azim on points. I think it'll be close, and I think the key to it for me, as you said, Jack, Ryland's got to start fast. He's got to make it uncomfortable from the start, because I think back to the Luke Willis fight where if he'd have fought rounds 9 and 10, fought like he did in rounds 9 and 10 earlier on, I think we could have saw a very different fight, but that was almost too little too late. So we're all with Adam Azim, but I'll be honest, I would be thrilled if we could see a Rylan Charlton win. A little bit biased because he has come on the channel and helped us out. So next up, now this fight's a bit bizarre for me. We've got Lerrone Richards, who anyone who's watched this channel, though he's not fought for nearly a year, knows I'm a massive, massive fan of, taking on Zach Chelly for the English super middleweight title. Now, I'm going to come to you first, Ray, on this one. For me, Richards, he's IBO world champion in his last fight against Carlos Gongora. Obviously, he's done the European title. Talk me through this. How has it become he's now back to English level? And, that's no disrespect to English level, but Richards has been there and done it and gone past it.
Yeah, well, there's obviously been some sort of issue with Eddie Hearn, hasn't there? He's obviously left Matchroom. He's obviously no longer with them. And as a result of that, probably the fact that he hasn't boxed in a year, he's lost that IBO belt, which is a shame for him. But this isn't such a bad domestic scrap. And what you have to think of is, although he was probably in the same situation Eubank was all those years ago when he was prancing around with his IBO world title, it's a case of, okay, who does that enable you to fight next? The super middleweight division he is I would say it's pretty much wide open. All those belts with Canelo, in terms of the so-called main prestigious 4 belts are with Canelo. The race to fight Canelo is pretty much wide open. I would like to see a win against Zach Chelli puts him in that equation, because like I said, that top 10 is quite it's not an exhaustive list, is it? There's quite a few names on there that he's more than capable of, because skills wise, he is one of our better fighters, Lerrone Richards. There's all that talk about he has that lack of power. I think he's only got the three stoppages. But as he keeps telling people, if he doesn't punch, walk through him, and no one has done yet. He'll keep you on the end of that jab. Actually, for somebody who doesn't hit that hard, apparently he mixes up quite well, and I quite enjoy watching him box. I think on the outside he's absolutely terrific. So I give him every chance in this fight. I think Zach Chelli will make him work. He'll come forward. He'll try and rough him up. He'll try and make it difficult and uncomfortable for him on the inside, but he's too skilled, Lerrone Richards.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Richards. Jack, how do you see this one playing out? Because I'm going to be honest, I appreciate what Zach Chelli brings, but for me, this is almost a little bit of a mismatch as long as the ring rust doesn't affect Lerrone Richards too much.
I really rate Zach Chelli very highly. I've been around him quite a lot as well, because he used to train down at State of Mind for sparring and stuff. And he sparred like light heavyweights. Well, I think he's a super middleweight, isn't he, or a middleweight? Yeah, and they were saying that, like, mate, when he hits you, like, you stay hit. And I think he's proven that, because I'm sure his record, he's got some good stoppages on there.
Yeah.
The Richards is very, very classy, but I'm sure there's been like 1 or 2 fights that do have question marks over them. Like, he's had a couple close split decisions, which he probably wouldn't have got if he didn't fight anywhere else apart from like the UK. But just from what I've seen off of Zach Chelli, I generally think he could pull an upset, especially if he gets the right sparring and stuff that he needs.
No, well, it's interesting. I mean, to be fair, the Sky and Boxer have pushed him a little bit, haven't they, since he signed with them earlier this year, maybe even back in the last year. Yes, you've got the tough job, mate. I'm coming to you last. How do you see this one? Obviously, sort of Jack's pulling for backing Zach Chelli a little bit there. Do you agree with him?
I mean, I see where Jack's coming from, in the sense of, obviously this is a big moment for Zach Chelli, obviously fighting someone who's obviously highly ranked, like Richards. Richards is, he's ranked number 7 by the WBC. So obviously a win is only gonna do wonders for him, and obviously he's fought at a much higher level. So to get in there, he's gonna come motivated. He's gonna want to get in there and mix it up with him and make it uncomfortable for him. But essentially, I feel like you alluded to earlier, as long as the ring rust and the inactivity hasn't hindered him too much, I feel like he should be able to work his way to a points decision. Although there may be a few hairy moments in there due to inactivity, etc., and just trying to get those rounds probably back under his belt before he mixes it up at a high level again. I feel as though he should be able to come away from this, as long as he doesn't do anything stupid with a points win.
So you're sticking with Richards on a points win, yes?
Yeah.
Jack, I'm coming to you. What's your prediction, mate?
I reckon Zach Chelli points.
I like it. Ray?
Richards points.
I'm Richards on points as well. So this is good. This is our first split. I mean, it's slightly concerning that us 3 boxing fans have gone against the professional boxer. So we could look like a bunch of tits on Sunday. But hey,
that's the fun game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So next up, we've got Mikhail Lowell versus David Jameson. Obviously, we know Dion Juma was scheduled to be in this one for the British Cruiserweight, but he has unfortunately had to retire Jack, I'll come to you first. Just your thoughts on Dion Juma, because it's a shame, really. I thought, he had a bit of a future in the sport, so it's terrible what's happened, really.
Do you know what? That is a name I've heard from the very beginning of my career, especially because he was a Grove boy and I was training down at the State of Mind in Hammersmith when I started. It's so funny because everyone that ever spoke about Dion, they did speak about him like he was like the next coming, like some kind of god. And I remember for years I never met him, never knew who he was, and I was asking everyone, who is Dion Juma, because all I've heard about is this guy is like liquid gold. And all I heard were people telling me that he was going to be a world champion and this and that. But then I did meet a couple people down the line that did say these people are hyping him up a bit too much. He is good, but he's not as good as what you've been hearing. And I think when he finally stepped up, because he's got a lot of good wins, but when he got to that kind of certain level with Reactpor, we all saw what happened. So the words were a bit of a myth, but he did achieve a lot, and he probably could have went on and achieved more, and he probably could have beaten is it Lawal?
Lawal.
Yeah, he probably could have beaten Lawal. So yeah, it is sad. It is sad to see someone go out not on their own terms with an injury. So yeah, bless him, man.
No, I mean, just your thoughts on this Lawal and Jameson. How do you see this one playing out?
I know that Jameson, they fought each other, didn't they, in the boxer tournament? And I know that Jameson lost to him, and that's his only defeat. And I know obviously Jamie Smith, and I know other people like Dion and other people that have sparred Loire. And to be honest, they haven't spoken very highly of him. They say he's decent, but they say he's just really, like, the power gets him out of a lot of situations. But I think he's already beaten this man, but take note, that was only over 3 rounds, and a 12-round fight is completely different to a 3-round fight. But I think he will have enough to come through this one. But just from the things I've heard in the sparring stories and what people have told me, I think when he wins the British, I don't think he'll hold on to it for very long.
No, that cruiserweight division is stacked, isn't it? In fairness, I mean, a few of the names now have probably gone past British level, but you never know. And there's been a few bizarre moves, I think it's fair to say, this year. We're just talking about Lerrone Richards going back to English level, so I agree with you there. I think he'll probably win on the weekend, but could come unstuck later on. Yes, I'll come to you. Obviously, your thoughts on this fight, mate. I mean, as we go down the card, it's a great breakthrough card, but I think this, for me personally, prepared to get slated, it's one of the fights I'm less excited about, if I'm honest.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know too much about Jameson, but I feel like this is just like Jack alluded to, it's a fight that he's won already. So I just feel like probably go in there and just not probably stop him quite early on. To be honest, the Loa will go in there and get a win.
Now, Ray, any different thoughts, mate? I'm looking for you here, mate, as the experienced one amongst us, to sell me on this fight.
I don't think I can, to be honest with you. I mean, I would also say that Loa's had a pretty decent amateur pedigree as well. But they're both, Dion Juma has always been in and amongst. I mean, he was on, he was winning stuff at national level. He had a spell for the England amateur boxing team as well. Highly rated. I think he was in the same class as a lad up here, Declan Fusco, and they were both doing really, really well. I just think that cruiserweight it's not really a glamour division. It's always been sort of overruled by the heavyweight division, and I just think that looking back at the Mikhail's sort of career so far, it's kind of disappointing me. I haven't seen anything since he's turned pro to think, oh, this kid's going to go on and and do something magnificent. So I am, if anything, if he's got anything there, this should be his breakout performance on TV, considering he's already beaten this opponent before. I can see it being a scrappy affair. because I think Jameson will bring everything that he has, and I think the pressure just might be too much for a while. But I expect him to win, but I don't think it'll be pleasant.
No, fair play. So moving on then, another English title fight. Sam Gilly, Sean Robinson for the English title at 154. I don't know where we are. In fact, we've been round. I'm going to come to you first, Yas. Yas, talk to me about this one. Get me back excited.
Again, I'm not. Maybe the others probably be able to sell you more on this fight, but I'm not really in tune with that fight too much. I think obviously it's an English title fight. Both guys will probably come in, geared up and probably try to put on a really good scrap. But I just see it being like one of them long-winded ones where it's just a bit boring, and someone will probably just nick a points win.
There we go, Ray. I'm going to come to you. Yes,
no, I think this one could potentially be one of the better fights on the card.
Come on.
Yeah, I saw Gilly some time ago get against Nathan Hardy, and I think often what you see with the English title fights and sometimes with the British ones is boxers put their heart on the line, their heart and sleeve. They really, really go for it. So I probably expect this one to be is thoroughly entertaining, back and forth. And I'm going to go for Sam Gilly on this one.
Very good, Jack.
No, this is going to be a great fight. I grew up with Sean Robinson from the amateurs, seen him at 13 years old, and he was class back then. And then he turned professional, and he's been class ever since. He's won the Southern area. He got to the final of Boxer, and I think it was something O'Donnelly, the Irish Olympian, who won a bronze, I think, lost to him in the final and didn't look outclassed. He had a draw in his record, which wasn't a draw. He did win by like 3 or 4 rounds. And he's been sparring Conor Benn in the build-up to the Eubank fight. Yeah. And he's obviously signed with Tony Pill, who I know very well and who got him this fight. I know Sean very, very well, and he's one of the best boxers you'll see on the small hall scene. And one of my friends fought Sam Gilly, Curtis Felix, that he had a very close fight with him. And my coach Barry, I think, actually got the game plan spot on. It was to give away the early rounds and then come on strong in the later rounds. And the plan worked until Curtis got dropped in the last round. And I think he ended up losing by like 2 or 3 points. And then later on, it come out that Curtis didn't stick to the diet properly, and he struggled, and he didn't make the weight properly, and so on and so forth. So if he would have stuck to the game plan, he could have probably beat him. But I know a lot of people would disagree, but I'm picking Sean to beat Sam Gilly on points because I know Sean well, and I know what he's gone through in the preparation and who he's been sparring, and I've watched his whole career, and I know how good Sean is, and I truly, truly believe that he'll beat him on points.
Wow. See, I'm loving this sort of insight that, Jack's bringing that obviously
That's why he's on. That's why he's on.
So, yeah. So everybody watching this, you better appreciate this because we're getting schooled. So, I mean, moving down the card, opponents not yet announced, but we've also got Hassan Azim, Adam's brother, out now. I feel harsh saying it, but it is sort of like, I'm not the only one to say it, Hassan is sort of borderline slipping into Adam's shadow a little bit at times, isn't he, Ray?
Yeah, he's the equivalent of Matthew Hatton. To be frank, I just think I've not really been massively impressed with his performances. Last time out in Liverpool, I thought he was going to get the guy out there in the first 30, 40 seconds. Obviously Yaz was there. I thought as the fight wore on, his power left him. He became more static. He wasn't able to move his feet, and then he was getting clipped more. He was getting hurt, and as he was getting hurt, he wasn't able to defend himself as well. But the first round, definitely, he looked a different class. He couldn't sustain it. That's my worry for Hassan Azim, and I think it doesn't help having his brother being Adam. He's his own man at the end of the day, but everyone keeps comparing him to Adam, so that's the reason why I kind of say the differences is similar to Ricky and Matthew.
No, 100%. Yes, you were there in Liverpool. Do you agree with Ray, or how did you see it for Hassan Azim?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Ray. He's not exactly quite the fighter of his brother, but you know, it's pressuring on a fighter. You know, when you've got your sibling touted as being this big star, etc., and you know everyone's always talking about him, that obviously plays a part. And you're obviously gonna, especially if you're a young fighter, you're gonna want to go in there and do your bit yourself, get people talking about you. So I can understand the pressure can, you know, kind of get to you at times, and you know you kind of fall short. Especially, I also believe that Adam is the more natural, you know, boxer out of the two as well. So that also plays a part. Obviously, Hassan hits hard, and you know, whoever obviously his opponent's not been announced, but whoever he does get in there with, I do expect him to get the job done within a distance. But obviously, he's not at the moment, unless he does something significant. He's not quite the fighter that, you know, his brother is showing the levels to be.
No, 100%. Jack, just quickly to sum us up, your thoughts on Hassan Azim?
Yeah, do you know what? I really hate it when like you have a relative and people compare the two, because I don't really get it. Like, I don't really get why, because and people are put in their shadow if they ain't as good as their relative. But it's like, but why though? It's like, obviously Ray was just talking about like Ricky and Matthew, and it's like people always talk about Ricky, and then when anyone mentions Matthew, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, but he's not as good as his brother." But like, but why does that matter? Matthew Hatton had an incredible career. Like, if you had 100 boxers lined up, 99 of them would take Matthew Hatton's career. Do you know what I mean? So I just don't ever know why it matters. And it's the same with like the Eubanks. Like, again, Chris Eubanks Jr. has had an incredible career, and now obviously Campbell Hatton's obviously getting judged off of it. And it's the same with Hash and Adam. But like, I don't know, I feel sorry for him in that sense. But yeah, like, I think I'm sure he'll probably go on and still do great things himself. But if his brother achieves more, it's always going to be that thing where he's not his brother, is he? Like, and I just kind of hate that.
No, fair play. I mean, yeah, we'll end up there, guys. But overall, I've got to say, fair play to Sky and Boxer, because we've got another congested weekend of boxing when we've just had a weekend without any, really. I know there's a couple of shows worldwide, but, you know, fair play to them for putting it to a Sunday, and it really has given us like a festival feel of boxing, obviously, as well as the World Cup. So we'll end it there, guys. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think, and stay tuned because, you know, as we all know, there's lots of content coming this week.